Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us in here, out there, and hopefully all of you are having a great day. So today on the program, we have, of course, our Gamer Tuesday, where we talk all things video games. This is the show dedicated to gaming news, gaming consoles, latest releases, just about anything having to do with video games. This is a good time to do it because, our regular day-to-day consists of interviews with companies and, just general tech news. So this is time to cut loose and enjoy some games and talking about games. So joining us is, as usual, is the one, the only Mr. Cory Galliher, as we from Popzara magazine fame, and we have a lot to discuss. So a couple things before we get started, including ComputerAmerica.com. That's where you'll find everything from, and this is pretty important. You'll find a link to to Cory's profile on Popzara. And there you can see all the different reviews he's written. You also have links to some of his other publications. He does a lot of work, a lot of good work. And again, we're happy that he joins us every single month. So you can find that there. Also, any articles, videos, or anything that we show here on the program will be in the show notes. So if you're busy, we got you covered. Let's see. With that being said, while you're there, be sure to check out the social media contests brought to you by Logitech. And also be sure to check out the live video stream brought to you by OWC. And with the video stream, you can check us out at twitch.tv/Computer America. Or, and hey, you can join us in the chat room. You can talk with us, give us your opinion. And hey, a little bit of interaction goes a long way. So, okay. I think with all that being said, let's just go ahead and bring on our guest. So as I said before, Cory Galliher, longtime correspondent now, and our resident gaming expert. So Cory, how you doing? Welcome back onto the program.
Hey Ben, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me yet again.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So before we get started, just general, how do you do? Doing well?
I'm doing pretty good over here. We are currently in the middle of summer. That means that not a lot of stuff is coming out. So I've been going through the backlog, playing older stuff. You know how it is.
That's true, but it seems like in a lot of cases where the summer used to be this complete drought, and the only thing that was kind of like the little bit of water in a very long dry season were things like the Steam Summer Sale, where you would buy games that were already out or have been out for a long time, but you buy them for a really good price, so you'd have things to play. I will say that, the Steam Summer Sale, it's still a thing, but a lot of games I'm noticing are offering updates, if not full-blown expansions, to existing games and then saving the new releases for the holiday. Like, have you noticed any kind of trends like I have?
Well, one of the big things this year is that we have a bunch of big things, big releases coming in the later part of the year. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the big one. We're seeing a lot of publishers moving their games back to avoid running into Red Dead Redemption 2. So from that perspective, we're seeing that. People tend to push their games back instead of forward. Gives them more time to iron out bugs and so on and so forth. So from that perspective, I suppose there is a little bit of a trend.
Yeah, and so that's it's a little consolation, but at the same time, just gives you a little something to play. I know that I'm really looking forward to to next week's release of the new World of Warcraft expansion. Let's see, how do I want to word this? Computer America will not be on the air Monday and Tuesday. for completely related reasons. But yeah, so there's at least a couple of things, including some that we're going to talk about. So for anyone out there who's new to our gamer segment, this is where we talk about the latest releases. If there's a new game, we kind of go over it and the general reaction it's had in the community. But we also talk about, just kind of trending topics and gaming related news. So Cory, I'll go ahead and start us off with one that I always like talking about, because just like a lot of things, like let's say Bitcoin, for instance, a lot of people ask me, just being in the tech field, what do you think about Bitcoin? Did you get into Bitcoin? Do you feel bad that you didn't get into Bitcoin earlier? Because so many people saw the astronomical rise of it, and you're like, no, I'm happy I never put a penny into Bitcoin, because now I don't have to care if it's up or down, and I get to sit back and just report on it, and I don't have to really, have any empathy for what's going on in that arena. And I feel like it's the same thing with Star Citizen. It's like I've known about it for a long time. A lot of years have gone by. News articles keep breaking, and at the same time, I get to sit back and enjoy and just kind of read it. So let's start with the Star Citizen story that you have here. And they remove the in-game currency cap, which I can think of a number of other games that I've played that have had that cap. For one reason or another, and a cap currency kind of keeps things in check. It's a pretty good hard line that leaves a lot of items. There are ways around it, but it leaves a lot of items at a certain price point. So, talk about Star Citizen. Give us a quick overview of the game, and then why removing the in-game currency cap. Why did they decide to do that?
Well, Star Citizen is a favorite topic of mine. We've talked about it a few times on the show before. If you're not familiar out there, listeners, Star Citizen is basically the biggest crowdfunding success out there. Crowdfunding, of course, being where you run a campaign. People can pledge a certain amount of money, possibly get rewards, so on and so forth. So in Star Citizen's case, we've seen like literal hundreds of millions of dollars pledged to creating this crowdfunded space game. The issue with that being that the crowdfunding took place back in, I believe, 2012. We still don't really have much of a game. And that's where we stand.
It's almost out of alpha. It's exciting.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far. Star Citizen is interesting because it's basically one of the last few relics of the golden age of crowdfunding back around 2012 when if you were somebody who was a big name in the games industry back in the 90s or 80s, you could go on crowdfunding. You could say, hey, I want to make a game. Please give me money. People would give you money. You were under no actual obligation to deliver. So it was basically free money. There's no reason not to do it. The man running Star Citizen is Chris Roberts. He made the Wing Commander games. And Star Citizen itself is supposed to be a giant open world space RPG thing. It's all really nebulous right now. We don't really know much about exactly how the game is going to play because none of that's really been hammered out yet 6 years later. The issue today, and again, we've talked about Star Citizen before, the issue today is what you just mentioned, the fact that they're removing the cap on how much currency you can have. The idea being that you could previously only hold so much currency, and that would kind of keep the economy under control because you could only have so much. So things couldn't cost more than a certain amount. You know what I mean?
And this is just, from playing other games, it's like you could have these items that were infinitely rare or valuable for some other reason, and the in-game currency cap would keep it from being, something that was, maybe, like, let's take a certain item for a game that maybe if it was like a code that you could buy on eBay, the eBay code could only be, could go for $1,500. But the in-game currency, if you keep that capped, if you sold it in-game like you're supposed to, you can only get, a certain amount of money for it, and it kept it from, even if it was infinitely rare, you could only get it for that one amount. And it kept everything, kind of at a ceiling. And it was kind of comforting to know that, hey, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Sure. And the issue here is less that because, there is no game. Star Citizen isn't really a game. Star Citizen is essentially right now a vector to get more money for Chris Roberts because what we have is an alpha, I suppose. There's not much there. We don't know anything about how the game's going to play in the end. We don't know anything about anything. We know that you can spend a whole lot of money on buying ships, real money, not game money. You can't buy the ships with game money yet. You can buy them with real money, lots of real money. Now, it's this fact that you can buy currency with real money that's the problem here. Because what that amounts to is if I have a bajillion dollars and I want to buy Star Citizen money, I can do that. I can buy as much as I want. Nothing is stopping me anymore. And when the game comes out, if the game comes out, we don't really know if the game is coming out, but if it comes out, my bajillion dollars worth of Star Citizen money is going to mean that you're not catching up, especially if you don't pay. It's just not going to happen. When we talk about games being pay to win, a lot of people have a problem with that. And that's understandable because we have to deal with inequality in the world as it is. We don't want to have to deal with that in our games where if somebody makes more than me, they automatically have an advantage and they're always going to do better. So in Star Citizen's case, we see two problems. Number one was what I just mentioned, that if I have X amount of money and you don't, I can buy currency and just boom, I win. Mm-hmm. It's that easy.
Right.
The other issue is that there really isn't a game yet. It's a tech demo at best. And they've made, what, $200 million at this point? More than that. So do they really need more excuses to raise more money? That's the question that I have with this.
Well, yeah, and this goes back to, why is it simply a tech demo? Why is it even, you hesitate to call it even alpha? Just, I guess, where does the management go? Because this is why, not just in video game Kickstarters or things like that, but in Kickstarters in general. That's why, when we talk to companies on the show here, we've had to start, really emphasizing the fact that when you invest in a Kickstarter, a crowdfunding, wherever it may be, you're not just investing in the product. You're not just buying the product, but you are betting on the team behind it. You're betting that the person who is running this organization knows what they're doing and knows how to actually put out a finished product. And in a lot of cases, we see that, it's people who with great ideas. Sometimes they're engineers, but they're not business people. They're not people who know how to lay down the law and actually push something out the door. I'm getting that feeling all over again with Star Citizen, where they want to make it. You had trouble classifying exactly what type of game it's going to be. I think that that's on purpose. I think they want it to be a little bit of everything, and they certainly have the money, but they don't have the management system in place to actually, call enough and start to work on pushing it out.
Sure. And back in 2012 or so when crowdfunding first kind of got its start and everybody was, full speed ahead on this stuff, we were in the middle of a kind of a phase in games writing where people were like, what the big problem with the industry is? It's publishers. It's EA. It's Ubisoft. If there's any problem with the industry, we can blame it directly on the publishers. That was extremely convenient for people like Chris Roberts, who could then say, you know what, we don't need a publisher. If you give us your money, we can just make this game directly. And we've seen Chris Roberts and Star Citizen ride this all the way to the bank with and really not produced much of value to show for it, honestly.
So with that on top of the whole pay to win, and I see that the article that you have linked here, kind of has pay to win objections creeping up. I mean, how do they kind of explain it away that, okay, you have the money, you have your audience's support, and now you just keep monetizing? Because, we talked about another game, PUBG, where it was kind of in the same vein where you could get early access, you still paid $30 for it. And before they even, what a lot of people would claim polish the game, they put in an in-game loot system, loot crates, where you could purchase those for cosmetics and whatnot. And you were able to give them money before they were even officially launched. Like, this is
I wouldn't even call that a comparison, because even from the first days of early access, PUBG was a game. You could play PUBG.
Oh yeah, no, people played it for sure.
Star Citizen, on the other hand, you can technically play something that might be called a game called Star Citizen, maybe.
It's like a flight simulator.
But the fact is, it is sort of, but a big source of income for Star Citizen is the fact that you can buy ships, spaceships you can fly in the game. The issue with that it continues to be the fact that there are still ships you can buy that aren't actually in the game yet, may never be in the game yet, offer things that might not ever be in the game. There is, for instance, the idea of kind of a space airliner that you can fly passengers around in. And there was talk of a mini game where you can serve people drinks. I mean, and if you look into Star Citizen, the rabbit holes just go on and on and on and on and on. And there's no way.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to happen. And at this point, between selling land like they were a few months ago and this whole $27,000 package you can pay for to get you every ship in the game, and now you can buy as much currency as you want, I'm wondering why people don't see through this at this point. I honestly don't know.
That is about what I was going to ask you, and it has to be that there are just diehard fans. There has to be that core group of people that believe in it. That this is faith. There's no other way to put it. This is believing in something that you cannot see, touch, or at this point play, a legitimate game with. This is blind faith, and I feel like it's the people who are, who kind of share your opinion, where, why can't they see through this, that no matter how much money you're going to throw at these people, you're never going to get the game that you've been promised. The people who see your point of view have already backed out, have already dropped it and said, enough is enough. I'm going to go preoccupy myself with something else. Let me know if you don't get it done. Whereas everyone else, they, hey, if they can throw out a $27,000 package and no one bats an eye and just says, of course Star Citizen is going to do that, then I feel like it's a passion project that prints money for the developer. And
sure, absolutely.
That's
and
it.
I think a big part of it comes to the point that when you've donated or pledged, or whatever the term that they're using today for crowdfunding stuff is, if you've given $500 for this project, you don't really want to face the fact that it might not be happening, because you're not getting that money back.
You definitely won't. That is a trend with Kickstarters in general. I'm not even going to say it's a trend with video games, but no, these things have a tendency to, kind of give you a couple weeks notice, say, hey, we've had a good run. Thanks to all of our supporters, no refunds, have a good one. And that's about it. So there's going to be a point where even the minimal amount of server space that they're renting or any of the other development that they're actually paying for is not going to be covered by donations. And I feel like at that point, that's when it's going to be shuttered up, is when it no longer makes money. I think the month that it kind of wastes money is the month that it gets shut down. That's a feeling that, you've given me, certainly articles like this have given me, and something that over, trends just over months and months of reporting on Star Citizen, none of it is like, hey, we are going to launch in October. No, it's, how do we get more money out of you?
Right, exactly. That's what it boils down to, is how do we get more money out of you? How can we get you to pay more? It's never, hey, look at this great new feature in our game that you can play right now. It's never, oh man, this big update is coming and everything is in it. Or it's definitely not, oh, here's when we're launching, because that's when the money stops.
Right. So, and I think we're going to go ahead and drop that conversation there. But Star Citizen, removing the in-game currency cap, so that if if that one last thing, because if you already purchased your $27,000 ship package, if you've already bought all the land that you could possibly own, and you are still like, hey, how can I give you even more money? Then, hey, good job. They've opened the door for you and you are good to go. So there's Star Citizen. Always a fun topic, because it's not a cheap topic. I mean, we talk about
it's probably my favorite topic in games as a whole, because they do something like this about every month or so. It's new and it's impressive, and it's like, oh man, Christmas came early yet again. Here's what Star Citizen wants me to buy.
Like, if these people who spent this kind of money were to apply it to any other game by any other developer, be it PUBG, be it Overwatch, be it Fortnite, they would cap out and be unable to purchase everything in that game for a fraction of what they've spent on Star Citizen. Like, games that are actually providing content, they would spend infinitely less. But either way, like I said, we're dropping that. Let's go ahead and skip on over to our next topic here. We have a number of them. Let's talk about this one. So it's the title really grabbed me, and I wanted your opinion on Capcom, thinking that it's okay if they lower their sales goals if the game that they publish is going to be higher reviewed or higher rated, or essentially, reviewed better, I guess would be the correct way to say this. So Capcom, maker of Resident Evil, they're coming out with Resident Evil 7, I believe. And yeah, they said that they're okay with lower sales numbers if they get better reviews, as in they make a better game, even if it doesn't sell as well. My question to you is, first of all, actually, maybe even last of all, don't those two go hand in hand? You probably cover a lot more reviews and journalism in gaming than I do, but in general, if a game is very well reviewed, that's almost better word of mouth than just being popular in its own right.
Yeah. So as far as Resident Evil goes, 7 came out last year. The new one is actually a remake of Resident Evil 2. So when we're talking about review scores, there's a lot of controversy around game journalism right now. A new controversy today, actually. IGN, their Nintendo editor, was caught plagiarizing a review.
I saw that. Yeah.
Right. So how much do you want to trust review scores is the real question. And I say this as somebody who writes game reviews.
Well, it's because video games are a pretty steep, or they have been traditionally a pretty steep investment for those playing games. Not every gamer out there can afford to spend $60. If you are, if you're still on your parents' budget, if you're 13, 14 years old, you have to be really convinced that you can, go out, purchase this game, and have your parents buy it for you. And that's going to be the one game that they're going to buy for you for any number of weeks or months. You have to make a very informed decision, and that's where game reviews are supposed to sit. It's supposed to be an informed, decision when you head into the video game store or, digital downloads at this point. And I guess that's the role, but they have, like you said, plagiarized and paid for and that kind of thing. Why do can video game ratings be redeemed in any way? Are they still valuable?
Honestly, as somebody who's in a stage of my life where I have a job and I can afford to buy games every now and then, not to mention that as a reviewer, a lot of what I play is from the publishers, I don't really pay much attention to reviews these days. I tend to find that they don't really match up to what I want in a game. Mm-hmm. And we've seen situations where games that, ended up being critically loathed, like God Hand, for instance. God Hand did incredibly poorly on IGN. There's kind of a meme image that floats around these days about God Hand doing worse than Party Babies in the 3DS or whatever it was. So from that perspective, I really don't know how easy it is to say that review scores are applicable to everybody or even most people. And as far as this discussion with Capcom goes, right. There's not going to be a situation where the head of Capcom says, you know what, Resident Evil 7, which is this game that was just pretty much applauded across the board. It was scary as hell, beautifully made, lots of fun, is a worse game because it didn't sell as well as Resident Evil 6, which was largely considered to be the end of the franchise. And a lot of people said there were not going to be any more Resident Evil games after 6 because of how bad it was. So yeah, we're not going to sit and watch the head of Capcom say, oh no, we don't care if our games are bad as long as they sell. No, not in 2018, not in 2012, probably not ever. They're not going to say that. So from that perspective, I don't know if this is really much of a story, honestly.
Well, yeah, and I guess it was more the wording. Maybe it's something that was lost in translation in what he was saying. But I just felt like, saying, hey, we want to make a good game, not a popular game. I feel like you can't really pinpoint that. Like, I would even say that many of the popular games are popular because they're good, because they have an element that really catches the attention of large, swaths of the gaming public that in themselves kind of makes them good. I know that a lot of people like to hate on Fortnite, but it's popular because it is a very competitive and clean and polished shooter game with a unique element to it. Like, even if you say it's crap and you will never play it, it's still a good game. I don't care what you think of it. It objectively is because so many people are playing it. So I feel like him saying this, maybe it was something lost in translation, but I hope that his next game, I kind of hope for both ways. I hope he aims for a lot of mass appeal and a lot of really good reviews.
Sure, and it's the same situation we see with pretty much every form of media. The Transformers movies, I went and saw one, and I couldn't stand it. It felt like a 2 hour long commercial. Couldn't do it. People looked at Twilight, which sold a bajillion copies, and said, "Oh no, this is terrible. This is not artistic at all. It's so awful." But yet it still sold. 50 Shades of Grey, same thing. "Oh no, this is so awful. How terrible." So there's a certain side of people that want to look at things that are popular and say, you know what, these are actually awful. I know better than these millions of people that are enjoying this. Is it a useful reaction? Probably not. And in this situation, again, it's really hard to say. I think what you just said pretty much nails it. Yeah. That we really want them to make games that are good and also sell. That's it. That's the story.
Yeah, it is, and I'm glad that you kind of brought that up because it's it's something that I've noticed. I definitely watch a lot of Twitch. I firmly believe Twitch is not the gaming public. Twitch is the Twitch public. Twitch is a group of people who are probably a bit more caustic than your average gamer. And they're very vocal, but they're also very contrarian. They also like to hate people, things, ideas that as a group, they can all get behind and feel some little sense of superiority behind. But hey, this is not a referendum on gamers or anything like that. We actually have a story about that a little bit later. But I'll go ahead and leave you with the next topic. We have like 3 minutes. We can start to get into one. A lot of really good ones. Any of these kind of catch your eye?
Well, you just talked about Fortnite, so we can actually knock this one out really quickly. Fortnite is not going to be available in the Google Play Store if you're trying to play it on Android. You can only get it by sideloading it, I believe.
Yeah, this is so weird because I've never really heard of an app that would forego. If this was like iOS, it's like, hey, we're going to, and of course they are not avoiding the iTunes Store, but this is like an iOS app avoiding the iTunes Store. It's almost unheard of, but it's surprising at the same time because you think an app and you only think of you only think of the App Store. So why would they do this?
What it pretty much boils down to is Google will take a 30% cut if you put your game on their store. If you just make the game available, you could keep all the money for yourself. And Fortnite is the biggest game in the world right now. They can do that. They don't need the Google Store. Why would they use the Google Store? Pretty much it.
And trust me, they are the biggest game currently. It is shocking how big the game has actually gotten. I hear that it's actually the number one nuisance in schools nationwide. It's a national epidemic. You think forest fires are bad? Go into a fourth grade classroom, and it's pandemonium because of what Fortnite has caused. And I guess that they think they can do this. I guess my question is, do you think that this is a good idea? Because yes, they are big. Yes, they could probably still get the downloads. Their friends are going to be talking about it. They're still going to find they're still going to Google how to do it, ironically. But I mean, do you think that this sets kind of a dangerous precedent? Because the App Store was a way for developers to put their product up, to have it in one centralized place, and to some lesser extent, I know it's more on iTunes than it is on the Android store, but have some level of accountability because you're purchasing it through Google. It's Google giving you the stamp of approval, and if you have a problem, then you take it up with Google. You don't take it up with these fly-by-night companies. Not implying that Epic Games is a fly-by-night company, but now...
About to say, that's quite the statement you're making there.
But I'm not saying that. But now I'm saying that if you have a problem with your Fortnite and your game and the app on your phone, if you have any kind of transaction dispute or anything like that, you now have a beef with Epic Games, and Google as an app provider has nothing to say to you.
Well, just to knock out my two thoughts on this real quick before we got to go to a break. Number one, I have said this before. I'll say it 1,000 more times every time on the show. If you are a person who buys and plays video games, the amount of money made by game companies means nothing to you. There is no value. There is no value to caring about what kind of cut Epic Games gets. None whatsoever. It means nothing to you. So from that perspective, whatever. From the other perspective is you mentioned getting it on the Google Store, and you have a sort of guarantee from that. I don't know if you've actually used the Google Store in the past year or so, but there's a lot of crap on there, a lot of terrible apps, a lot of apps that will try to scam you for your money. a lot of apps that present themselves as things that they are not, a lot of apps that break copyright. So is the Google Store really offering you anything of value? I really don't think so.
It's a bit more of the Wild West.
Do I think this sets a precedent? Not really, but
does not set a precedent. But everyone, music means we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. 2 minutes. Computer America. More after this.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. If you miss any part of today's program so far, feel free to check us out wherever podcasts are heard, be it iTunes, Google Play, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, I think has us now. We need to double check that. But yeah, anywhere podcasts are heard, and it's simply today's show in its entirety rebroadcast. Though, if you're listening to us live on IRN, thank you so much. And if you're watching us on Twitch, hey, we love you there too. So, we're talking with Cory Galliher, Popzara magazine, and just talking about computer and technology news. Fortnite, and by the way, just had another second, Cory, before we, kind of skip over to the next topic. I will say that, just kind of poked around the article a bit more, saying that the company would have also liked to avoid the Apple, the Apple iTunes Store if it could have, but it couldn't. So, it looks like it wasn't just Android that they were looking to cut out of the loop. And here's the other part, though. Something that I don't have an Android phone, so I can't triple check, but I feel like they should do something, kind of as a public service, because so many people play this game, and so many are younger kids, maybe who are susceptible to clicking the wrong link, being duped, things like that. There have been instances of fake versions of Fortnite that are simply used as, kind of avenues to steal things. And I hope that Fortnite or Google or someone puts something up that says, I see you're looking for Fortnite. It's not available through this store, go to so-and-so website. Because if you simply leave it up as, go to the App Store, look for Fortnite, and all you're going to get is a dozen fake Fortnite clones, then that could, kind of lead to its own problems.
Right, exactly. And, like I said before we went to the break, the Google Play Store is basically a cesspit. It's worse than the App Store. I don't know how they manage that, but it is worse than the App Store. There are scam apps. There are copycat apps. There's just
my favorite one. And to kind of put this into perspective, my favorite one. There were actually a group of kind of a group of reviewers or gamers that went out to go find the worst apps on the App Store. And one of my favorite ones was a game that was just sprites that you can download for free, put it into a game, and essentially you tap your phone screen continuously until to make your character jump. And it was a game to see how many times you get your character to jump. And you essentially tap, 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 tap. And about 15 seconds into it, as you're spamming the phone, it would pop up a notification saying, "Do you approve us charging $100 to your credit card?" And you'd be hitting it, and then you just kind of hit yes repeatedly, and it would try to steal as much money as it can before you realize, oh no, yeah, I don't want to give them that kind of money. So stuff like that makes it onto the Google Play Store on a regular basis. I completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. So, moving on from there, then.
Sure. No. We can absolutely.
I mean, that's all I got. That's really all I have.
No. That's perfectly fine. And let's go ahead and talk about. All right. So this is kind of a favorite because I used to play a lot of Halo 1, a lot of Halo 2, plenty of Halo 3, kind of Halo Reach, a good amount of ODST, Halo 4, sure. Halo is kind of one of those touchstones to, kind of my development as a gamer. It was one of my games. And something that's been teased for a long, long time is this idea that Master Chief would make it out of simply video games. It was supposed to be a franchise that had a presence not just for video games but for movies, because a lot of Halo is very cinematic. There are amazing cutscenes. There's a story to draw from. It's very iconic in what they can do. So a couple of years ago, there was the long-awaited. I think they even had Spielberg saying, "Hey, I was going to be the one to do this," and it never came to fruition. The idea of a Halo TV series. And it broke my heart, but we saw some of that footage, kind of used over for, I think District 9, I think used some of the footage for that, or it became used in another, film. But anyways, now we're getting reports once again, because my heartstrings need to be tugged. Halo could be heading to a TV series. So I wanted your reaction. Do you think this could actually make it happen? Because if you want to talk about, kind of that limbo that happens when it comes to, who has the rights and who's going to produce it, who's going to direct it, let alone money changes hands. Do you think something like this could actually happen? And they're saying it may even come to Showtime, which is a completely new network for the franchise.
Well, we are seeing a point right now where we're kind of moving away from the idea of cable TV. We're moving on to these things like streaming services, things like Showtime, HBO, obviously. Of course, we're talking about Netflix, Hulu, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we're seeing is that people are more willing to take risks and come out with these series that might not have been quite so safe to create back in the days of cable. So I see this story. First thing I think about, we go on Netflix, there is a Castlevania series. There's actually a Castlevania animated series on Netflix. You can watch it right now. They're coming out with season 2. So from that perspective, no, I'm not surprised at all if they're thinking about a Halo TV series. Would I watch a Halo TV series? Probably not. But
what
would
happened?
A lot of people watch it? Probably so.
Why, you aren't a fan of the series, or you don't think something like this would translate well to a TV show?
I just don't tend to watch a lot of television, honestly. But do I think it would translate well to a TV show? If you are the kind of person who enjoys Halo stories, I feel like you would enjoy a Halo TV series, yes.
So, and I certainly am hoping. Let's see, they have a quote here from the president of programming for Showtime saying, yes, it is an enormous undertaking. Let's see, the quote, "We made a conscious decision to hire a writer not known for science fiction or big battle movies. We want to make sure that we get the inside human drama." So they're not going to go the Michael Bay route. I guess, you mentioned Transformers earlier. That was quintessential what happens when you put someone in who's a movie, and especially an action movie, is about the special effects. It's about the fight sequences. It's about the battles, and you end up with Transformers. which, don't get me wrong, made a lot of money. But, through shows such as Game of Thrones and Westworld and many more, we see, and, I guess Walking Dead was even an impetus to this as well, that if you can get that human side to it, if you can get this to be, part drama, part action, that seems to, have a bit more of an impact as a show than something like, again, just something about the special effects. So 2020 targeted for Master Chief coming to the little screen at this point. But they're working with 343 Industries, who currently has everything Halo. And I guess I don't have anything more to add. I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping, if nothing else, even if it's terrible, even if it is the worst Drek I have ever seen on television, I just hope it makes it to television. I hope that it finally gets out of production heck and it actually makes it to somewhere rather than these empty promises like, Spielberg's going to direct the TV show, or we're going to get a good conclusion to the storyline. These promises from Halo, they're so tiring. It's not quite to the level of Star Citizen, but man, Halo has been through the washer and back.
Absolutely. Again, I can't really say anything about potential quality, but I know that there are definitely fans who will definitely consume whenever it's produced. And if we can see a Castlevania animated series on Netflix and we can see an Assassin's Creed movie in theaters, then I don't see any reason why there cannot be a Halo TV show.
And like I said, even regardless of quality, at least they made it so, maybe even this one. So, all right, and let's say that's let's hope that the next the next Halo game makes it into our hands before 2020, because that's so far away. It feels like so far away. So, okay, with there's Halo, Master Chief. Let's hope that happens. Let's talk about real quick. Let's see, one of your stories here. I believe it was just in the same vein of Fortnite. There we go. Fortnite not going to the Android App Store, which is fine. Mobile is a pretty big market, but hey, they certainly have the resources to make it happen. In the same vein, though, you're talking about a fraction. I'm not really sure what the fraction of mobile players on Fortnite is, but you're talking about a pie slice. Now, when you talk about digital distribution and you want to talk about video games, Steam is a bit more than a pie slice. Steam is the pie, and anyone else who has any other platform is simply cutting into Steam's pie. Like it's their cake, and you have to eat it. So, and now I'm hungry. I'm so hungry for cake. But I will say that Fallout 76, which is the latest iteration of the Fallout series, claims it won't be launching on Steam, and I think Bethesda, makes this, or do I have that completely wrong? Via Bethesda.net only. So, just like, let's see, I think Origin for EA games, you have Epic Games with their launcher, Blizzard Activision has their own launcher. Now we may be looking at another launcher, which will be Bethesda.net. Hey, again, Corey, my question to you. Fallout 76 not being on Steam, does this matter, or do they have enough clout that this is like, oh, where's 76? It's over there. All right, I'll go over there instead.
This is basically the same story as the one we just discussed about Fortnite. Bethesda actually does have a launcher. I'm surprised too.
I didn't know.
The launchers that we're familiar with are Steam, Origin, which is EA, and Uplay, which is Ubisoft. We also have the GOG.com launcher, which is for your older games and for things like The Witcher. But Bethesda does have a game launcher, and you can buy Bethesda games on it. Ordinarily, you probably wouldn't. Oh, of course, there's Battle.net for Blizzard games as well. What am I thinking? Would you ordinarily buy Blizzard games on the Blizzard launcher? You probably wouldn't. It's inconvenient. If you keep all your games on Steam, they're all in one place, much easier to access them, and so on and so forth. In this case, Bethesda is aware that 76 is going to sell copies. They don't need Steam to sell 76. And that's pretty much what it boils down to. If you can avoid paying your cut to a middleman, why would you ever do it?
So, and hey, there's a whole reference to to the underworld in there. But let's just say that Steam had a bit of a controversy happen a little while ago when it came to them canceling, I think it was like Steam Spy or something of that nature. And then they leaked, quote unquote, numbers for a lot of different publishers, such as how many hours were played and how many titles were purchased through their platform. And I have a question for you is, do you think any of this has to do with keeping the data a bit closer to their, a bit closer to the vest, just kind of keeping, because now if they do it through their own launcher and no one else has anything to say about it, they don't have to be extremely accurate about their reporting of how successful the game has been.
I'm not even sure I would go that far. I actually literally just think the sole reason this is happening is because they know the game is going to sell. They don't want to pay Steam a cut. They don't have to pay Steam a cut, so they're not gonna.
Yep, and hey, it really could be that simple. And the infrastructure, is certainly there. That if you want to download their launcher and you want to download it from them, barring any kind of catastrophe. Of course, it's funny, talking about Fallout games, because that is the impetus behind the entire genre, or at least the entire series, is disaster has struck. But barring any disasters with their servers, they should be able to handle everything with, pre-downloads and pre-sales and things like that. But I guess you're right. This is very, very similar to Fortnite with with Android and things like that. Taking these stories together. Is there a bad ending for gamers? Because having everything in one place, having it conveniently, being able to create social circles where they could catch you on any game, you didn't have this fragmented ecosystem before that. And of course, there was the idea that Steam owned everything, which in itself is not good either. But is there a bad ending for gamers if everyone decides, you know what, we're getting enough word of mouth, we don't need to play nice with anybody?
2 points about this. One is the same point I made earlier, which is that if you are a gamer and somebody who plays games, the amount of money a company does or does not make is completely irrelevant to you. It has no effect on you whatsoever. You shouldn't worry about it. Other thing about this is that if we look at it from that perspective, it is somewhat less convenient to have to open the Bethesda launcher to play 76. So I guess from that perspective, it's a bad ending, but it's also just like another 2 clicks. So,
but it's the idea that, you see someone playing, maybe a Call of Duty game, or you see someone playing, what was that? Counter-Strike. There we go. You see someone playing Counter-Strike or any of these other popular Steam games, and you say, hey, I'm going to hop on Fallout 76. You want to come with me? I mean, then you have to jump from one launcher to the next, which I get really isn't that big of a deal. But I'm just trying to find anything that could be like, well, if the trend continues as it is, then you end up with, I don't know, maybe even, the segmentation that we're seeing with the consoles, which are completely manufactured at this point. Are we going to start seeing that with, with titles that people may be playing even on the same system?
I strongly doubt it. I don't think either of these situations is really representative. I think we are seeing 2 very, very big titles finding their own space and getting the money because they can get the money. I mean, we saw this also happen with Destiny 2, and we're seeing it happen again with Call of Duty Black Ops 4. They don't have to be on Steam. They can be on Activision's Battle.net instead. So that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and really, I think that Fallout 76 is right up there with some of the biggest titles, and it's not going to surprise me that they do this. I'm not even saddened that they are going to do this. It's just one more program I have to have on my computer to, to play another game. So I'm not surprised. I just hope that, we don't end up with every single title is going to have their own launcher, and you have to kind of figure out where you put that game, because, everyone has their own kind of cubby that they're going to have on your computer. But all right. So there's that. Let's see, 10 minutes left in the show, so we have plenty of time to get into this next one. And this one, just reading the title, I am waiting to buy the Switch from Nintendo. The title that I'm really waiting for, because I like Zelda, I'm not crazy over Zelda. I like, things like Mario Party and, Mario Odyssey and things like that. I'm not head over heels, but I am over Pokemon. So as soon as there's a Pokemon game for the Switch, I'm going to jump in head first, and I'm really looking forward to it. But something that you found an article here from Kotaku kind of shows that, some people, while there is that holdover with the 3DS, obviously the Switch can do everything that the 3DS does, a little bit better. They're still launching on the 3DS. And I assume that the title implies that they're only launching on the 3DS. What about this article caught your attention? Yeah.
It's the fact that Nintendo believes that the Switch, which is essentially a handheld, can exist in the same industry as the 3DS, which is just a handheld. But the Switch has better graphics, it's got more games, it's got newer games, it's got more features. You can plug it up to your TV and play games on your TV, and when you're done playing on the TV, you take it off and the game is still running just fine on your Switch. Mm-hmm. It's got all this. We're still seeing games come up for the 3DS. Honestly, I really hate to say it, I am on board with Kotaku for once. I do feel like the 3DS, as much as I love it, the 3DS might need to finally go the way of Old Yeller and just give up the stage of the Switch at this point. I love the Switch. It's a great system. It's got it all. The 3DS feels old at this point. And in this case, specifically, we're talking about Persona Q2, which is a dungeon crawler involving drawing your own map. So from that perspective, yes, I guess you could see why you might want that touchscreen. But hey, 3D Switch also has a touchscreen. So come on, 3DS, please just go already.
But does it have a stylus?
I mean, you can. I feel like you could probably buy a style. Hold on. I'm gonna look.
All right, yeah, he's gonna look at that. But no, I completely understand where you are.
Yes, you can buy a stylus for the Switch.
Perfect. Oh, so then a 3DS.
Except wait, it costs $30. Never mind. No, you have a good point. Never mind.
You know what? It doesn't even matter. Everyone, go take your 3DS out back and do it Old Yeller style. Just get it over with. You'll be happier that you did. But no, this is something that we see from not just Nintendo, but from every console manufacturer, where you have that massive holdover. When the Xbox 360 was the dominant, console for so long, and then out came the Xbox One. They developed a lot of games. I don't want to say exclusively for the 360, but really they were marketed primarily towards the 360. And I think it's just a numbers game, because I'm sure that the Switch is selling very, very well. I think it said it was selling as well as any console Nintendo has put out since I think like the Dreamcast or something like that. But it's sold incredibly well. But that doesn't negate that there are 3D systems out there, and they're still in the hands of people who have money. So, the great equalizer: who has money, and how do I get some of that? I get what they're saying. If you develop a game for a system that's already out of date, then how long is the shelf life of your game? But by the same token, I'm kind of glad that they aren't just completely writing off all those people, because they may have their own reasons for not upgrading to the Switch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the reason you wouldn't upgrade to the Switch, and I think the main one, is that it's more expensive. Mm-hmm. But there's going to come a point when there will not be any more 3DS games. I mean, we have Jason Schreier from Kotaku here lamenting that they still exist, but they're not really coming out at the same rate that they used to.
Yeah.
So we are definitely seeing the impending demise of the 3DS. I hate to say it, but it's true. So at some point, if you want to play handheld Nintendo games, you're going to get a Switch. It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, and hey, that happens with every Game Boy. And, if we see that those two audiences coming together of Game Boys and gaming consoles from Nintendo, and we see them merge into one, which is something that I think they've really nailed with the Switch, as we've mentioned before on the show, then I'm okay with that. You're bringing together two audiences that are playing almost the same games. And now they can play it in whichever manner that they see best fit. So I'm okay with this. I'm okay with it going away. And hey, I think he does have a pretty good point that if you are still super excited about, what's new for the 3DS, you may be a dying breed where, you may have to start thinking what's new for the Switch and how do I get my hands on one? So let's go ahead and leave that there. We have time for just one more quick story. And I'm, I really, you know what? Let's just bring it up. So Discord. The reason I have the story and, not going to get into the ideals behind these people, but I will say that I think this ties into a larger conversation that we just don't have time for because we saved it for the end. But Discord is a service primarily aimed towards gamers. It has a lot of integration with a lot of video games. Twitch has purchased it, which used to be Curse Gaming, which used to be its own huge service. It's now a subsidiary of Amazon by extension, and blah, blah, blah. My point is, it's primarily used by gamers, but but white supremacists have commandeered it. And, this is not a secret. This is not conjecture. This is the truth, that if you want a public meeting space and you want to talk with other people who share your ideals, it's not hard to create a pseudo chat room or, a literal chat room, and you can hide behind a username, not your actual name, but a username. And that has led to a home for, and by the way, it's very easy to leave, join, and otherwise, find others who think like you do. And that's why white supremacists have found a home on Discord. Now there's a story, Washington Post, a subpoena for the app called Discord, which is, again, if you're looking for a bigger name, that would be a subpoena for the company Amazon, could unmask identities of Charlottesville white supremacists, which, hey, even a couple of years ago, or at least even a year ago, that was one of their favorite places to meet up. My question to you, Cory, and hey, you have 2 minutes, so use it. Hey, you have plenty of time in the world.
You're seriously going to ask me about this with 2 minutes left?
I know, but gaming and these horrible, I'm going to call it horrible subculture because I don't have the right words for it, but is there something about just gaming in general that leads to these kinds of things happening where gaming Discord servers, kind of lead to, and I know that you covered Gamergate and, things like that. Is there something about the gaming culture that leads to these groups, kind of collaborating in gaming platforms?
We actually did not cover Gamergate and Popzara. I generally try to steer the side away from politics.
Good call. I'm guessing you're going to do the same thing with this whole story.
That is correct. Let's not discuss this one. Let's talk instead about games we've been playing lately. Dead Cells came out. It's a lot of fun.
Dead Cells. I saw a couple of things about that one. Okay, let's just go ahead and get this off the screen here. So, no, Dead Cells. What is that about? I saw a couple of screenshots of it. Looked like a side scroller, I think. What is Dead Cells?
Dead Cells is a roguelike. It's been in early access for a while. It's a side-scrolling roguelike platformer, randomly generated levels, a bunch of weapons and stuff you can get. It's on the Switch. It's on Steam. I've been playing it. It's good stuff. Way more fun than trying to discuss white supremacy on Discord with 1 minute left in the show.
Oh, man, but that could have led to such, awesome and unfulfilling conversation. But, all right, I understand where you're coming from. But, hey, everyone, the music means that we're just about done here. We'll save the other stuff for never again. So, in the meantime, Cory, I'll let you have the last word. If people want to find out more about what you do or where can they go to find some of your musings, writings, please take it away.
If you want to read stuff I write, you go to popzara.com. That's popzara.com. More personal stuff that I write is located on the Well-Read Mage. That's THEWELLREDMAGE.com. Take a look whenever you feel like it. Please do. Please, I'm begging you.
There you go. And I believe he also has a Twitter and things like that you can easily find. We'll have links to it in the show notes. And Cory, until next month, hey, have a great one, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So everyone, until next time, thank you for joining us here on Computer America. Great fun on Gamer Tuesday. And be sure to tune in tomorrow as we have Sandy Berker, our consumer electronics expert. So until then, everyone, have a great day. Keep your nose clean. Do not talk about politics on Computer America. I am learning that every single day. And have fun. And I really want to emphasize this. The new WoW expansion coming out next week, Monday and Tuesday, Computer America will not be on the air. So everyone, bye-bye.